my name is Hope and welcome back to my channel. I like musicals, they're a part of my life. Today we're going to be talking about the most emotional musical moments. I had to be dramatic, it was meant to be emotional and therefore it was. That sentence didn't make sense. Anyway, yes, today I'm going to be discussing some of the most emotional moments in musical theatre. Obviously, this is my opinion and if you don't agree, that's fine. I don't know how many I'm going to talk about. I'm going to guess about 6 because the fact is I didn't plan this video and I'm just making it up as I go along. I'm going to try and steer away from deaths, although I think there will be at least one because there are a lot of deaths in musicals, at least in my favourite ones. So I think without further ado, let's get into it.
But before I get into this video, remember that you can like, subscribe and turn on notifications so you can get notified every time I upload, which is particularly every Sunday, but sometimes extra days in the week as well. Apparently over 90% of my viewership is not actually subscribed, so what are you doing? Subscribe right now. I'm just joking, you don't have to do that. But also remember, you can follow me at all my social medias, which is X, Hope Wilson X on Instagram, Hope Wilson with 2 N's and an underscore on Twitter, and Hope Wilson 45 on TikTok. But with all that, let's get back into the video.
So these are in no particular order, but the first one I'm going to talk about is Deliver Me. I don't know if that's what the song is called. Deliver Me from Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Now I'm not actually sure if that's what the song is called, but he says it that many times that it might as well be. It's sang by Judge Turpin and essentially, weirdly, and spoilers for Sweeney Todd, kind of, not really. Judge Turpin is the adoptive father of Joanna, Sweeney Todd's daughter. He's literally seen her grow up and now he wants to marry her. Yep. And this is basically his moment, essentially saying, you know, I really fancy my adopted child. And essentially I don't know what the word is, but when you like whip yourself, not in a weird way, don't look at me like that, as like a punishment. And I think this moment, I mean, there are so many amazing moments in Sweeney Todd. I have to say, Swing Your Razor Wide, Sweeney from the Ballad of Sweeney Todd is literally one of my favourite moments in that entire show. I'm like, every time, because it's harmony and powerful and it's amazing. But this one, I just think it's weird and you don't know how to feel, and I think the music really reflects that. It's not like powerful singing, it's like powerful acting through song, which is amazing. You see his thought process and you're going through all of that with him, even though you're like, why do you fancy your adopted daughter? That's really weird, because it is, by the way, if you didn't already realise that. But that section, it's weird, and that's why it's emotional. Like, I feel like I kind of want to cry, but I don't know why. It's not sad, it's definitely not happy, it's just uncomfortable, and you're like, what? Why am I here watching this person do this to themselves? It's hard to explain, and I feel like the more I explain it, the worse the explanation's gonna get, and also the weirder people are gonna look at me because it's gonna sound more sexual. So let's just move on to the next one. My second one is an emotional happy moment, and thinking about it, it just makes me want to cry, which is the ending of Come From Away. I love Come From Away. It's one of the most underrated shows ever in my opinion. I love that show. It was my first West End show and my only West End show at this point in time, but we're not here to talk about that. The show, I think, is absolutely phenomenal, and given that it's about 9/11, it's such a happy, emotional show. I love it. I love it to pieces. I implore you to go and listen to it because it's honestly amazing. But the ending of Come From Away just hits you. It hits you with wholesomeness and it's amazing. Like, it's basically essentially from, I think it's from the 38 Planes reprise where they get to Texas after this week of unknowing and like hard times and everything, and they come back and then they raise the money for Gander because they help them so much, and then they all do Welcome to the Rock and then they do a final jump and that's the end of the show. I don't think you understand how much I love this show. It's in my top 10, will be there forever, I think. I want to cry, as you can already see. Go watch Come From Away. If you're in America, because I know I have an American audience, go watch it before it closes if you can, please. Or watch it on Apple TV. They have the Pro Shot there. Or watch it in London. Just watch it. Please, please watch it. I can't. It's too good. It's too good. let's just move on. Number 3 is a sad one. Because you have to have a death in there, I think it's musical theatre, it's what they do best. And I think theoretically for this one, it could technically be the entirety of Act 2. But we're just gonna go with What Would I Do from Falsettos. I mean, I think in the last 20 minutes of Falsettos, you can kind of sense where it's going, and you don't like where it's going, and then it just keeps going. But What Would I Do, I think, it's an emotional train wreck. The entirety of Falsettos is an emotional train wreck, I've got to be honest, but in one of the greatest ways possible. But what would I do when Marvin, who has been a douche the entire time, is realising that the man he loved, and spoilers by the way, I know I'm trying to get emotional and saying spoilers, but please, spoilers here. The man he loved is dead, and how it's not fair. It is just, I think, a masterpiece of musical theatre. It's so simple. It's just the two of them, Marvin and Whizzer, looking at each other, but Whizzer is dead. And he's saying, what would I do if you hadn't been my friend? You're the only person that I cared about. You're the only person that cared about my family. You were mine, and now you're gone. And there's that line where it's like, where good men get better with age. We're just gonna skip that stage. And you're like, it hits you. There's so many moments in Falsettos that could probably make this list, but that one sticks with me the most. Why did I make this video? I'm gonna start crying, I think, honestly. Jesus Christ. I feel like while we're on the topic of death, I might as well talk about another emotional death. For me anyway, which is Kim in Miss Saigon. Sorry for the spoilers, but I didn't give you a warning that time, but what are you gonna do about it? Unsubscribe. I don't know what that was, if I'm completely honest. But Kim in Miss Saigon. I don't even know what to say about her death because it's painful. Because we follow Kim pretty much the entirety of the time. She starts out 17, 18 years old, married to a general who she doesn't want to marry, turns into a prostitute, fights to move, to help her son because she ends up being pregnant with Chris's son, if you know who Chris is, if you've seen the show. She works so hard to give her child a better life. And when she meets up with Chris and his new wife again, she realises that even if they tell her there's space for her, she knows there's not. And she knows the only way to give her son a better life is to give him to his father. And her son was the only thing she lived for. Her son was the only reason why she kept going. And so she kills herself. And you're just sat there like, I've seriously watched you for 2 hours, fell in love with your character, felt bad for your character, and now you're giving up. Can you see my eyes? I'm gonna start crying. Why did I make the video? Ugh. But you know what I mean? That end sequence is heartbreaking. You know it's coming, I think, kind of. But you don't want to watch it. You don't want to watch it at all. And then dying in Chris's arms, her falls in love with him, and she was gonna imagine them meeting and marrying, but he's married and moved on, and you're like, how? What? You know what I mean? These explanations are gonna get worse. I'm just more emotional. I have to find a different emotional moment. But God, her death hurts. It hurts a lot. It hurts a lot. I just thought of a really good one, so I'm going to share it with you. My next one is See I'm Smiling from the last 5 years and that entire section, because I think it's just one of the greatest acting pieces through song, just like ever. In the context of the show, essentially this is like the brink of Jamie and Kathy, our two main characters and only characters, divorce. Jamie is putting his career first and has essentially left Kathy behind completely, but Kathy doesn't really want him to be successful. He wants him to pay more attention to her, and you see the flaws of both of them throughout the show. Like Jamie cheats and Kathy complains understandably in that situation, but anyway. See I'm Smiling is sort of like Kathy's rebuttal. I should know how to say that, but I don't. And it's one specific section which is essentially pretty much all spoken song, and it's her just kind of losing it. Not like insane, but it starts with, do you know what makes me crazy? I'm sorry, can I say this? Do you know what makes me nuts? The fact that we could be together, here together, spending our nights, sharing our time. And she's just like, she's at this point realising everything that Jamie's done to her and what's hurt her. She's like, you're putting your career before me on my birthday. You came here to visit me, all to just want to go back to where you're living and pretend like I don't exist. You know, you could be there with them or you could be here with me. And of course, you pick them because you clearly really don't love me enough. I can see something here, but I don't know what it is. It's a piece of grass. I don't know how that got there. Anyway, it's like that moment when someone says something that they've been waiting to say forever but never have, and then they finally call it out. I think that's why it's emotional. It's not necessarily sad or happy, it's more like anger, like a strong, angry emotion, because this is just an argument in song. That's what it is. And to finally see something that you know that they've needed to say the entire show, I think just really paints an amazing picture of the two characters and how they work. I'm not explaining any of these very well, but I was almost crying before, so you're gonna have to deal with it. I don't know how many I've done, so I'm just gonna do one more, and I'm sorry the lighting's really off, but it is the middle of the day. It's just dark because this is Britain. Oh, I'll see if I turn my light on. Does that help a little? It'll have to do. Anyway, so my last one is a bit out of left field again. If I've already said that, I don't really remember. But it's from Dogfight, and it's the war sequence. I've seen the bootleg of Dogfight, but I'm gonna pretend like I haven't because it's a lot of it illegal. But this moment stuck with me. I remember it so vividly, and I remember it just hurting. I think Dogfight is an underrated show anyway, but I think in the recording that I watched, Derek's performance, this is what made it stand out. I think this sequence, because if you don't know, Eddie and his friends, who I can't remember the names, I want to say one's Birdlace, but I'm pretty sure that is Eddie, they're US Marines, because I think at the time you had to do a year of service as either the army or the Marines or whatever before you could just go on to live your normal life. And at the beginning, especially in like Hometown Heroes Ticket Tape Parade, which is a song from the show, they're just like, we'll serve the year, then we're done, everyone will love us because we're Marines and we've fought in the war, and that's cool to people at the time. Because I think it's set in around like the 70s-ish. Like when Vietnam was going on, but I could be wrong. But the war sequence, it's essentially Eddie and his two best friends, who we've seen quite a few times throughout the show, at war. It's like a physical visualization of the war, but it's kind of just them three on stage, I think. And what ends up happening is his two friends are killed, and Eddie is the sole survivor. Didn't expect them to die, obviously, but it's war, and you can't prepare for things like that. And he comes back to Rose after I think she's not heard from him in like 5 years at this point, 4 or 5 years. And he comes back and he just breaks down. He has a full-on breakdown, physically and emotionally. And I'm like, it really makes you think about the emotional effects of war, because I think in things like games, we're very much desensitized to war, and you just feel for all soldiers. You really do. And I think it's such a phenomenal moment from this show. I think it's the standout moment from this show, and it's just emotional in the way that you feel awful for this character. Like, you don't feel sad because you didn't really know these people that well, but you really do feel sympathy for Eddie. You see how much it's changed him from the person that he started out at the beginning, and I think that's why it's so emotional. And that is it for my 6 emotional moments in musicals. What do you think of my list? I explained it pretty badly, I'm not gonna lie, but I tried my best, and I didn't fully cry, at least. But what do you think? Do you agree with my moments? Are there moments from your favourite musicals that you feel for? I know there's probably quite a lot that I didn't mention, so please comment down below what you think. Are you thinking good? Are you thinking sad, angry, anything? Please let me know. Also, remember that you can like this video and subscribe if you feel like it. Follow me at all my social medias, which will be somewhere. You will see it on the screen. Keep enjoying musicals as much as me, and I will see you in the next one.